Hello, my name is Chiffon. Today is March 18th, 2018. I will be talking today about the 4 types of tissue within our bodies. Week 2 went over histology, and that's exactly what we learned, what the cells and tissues do within our body. There are 4 types of tissues: the epithelial, the connective, muscle, and nervous. I will start with the epithelial tissue, which is sheets of cells that cover the exterior surfaces of our body and lines our internal cavities and passageways and form certain glands. The layer of cells that form act as a barrier between our internal and external environments. Examples of where our epithelial tissue is located is our skin and the lining of our respiratory tract. The digestive tract, urinary, and the reproductive systems all are lined with epithelium. Epithelial tissues provide the body's first line of protection. Any and all substances that enter the body have to cross past the epithelium. The cells of the epithelium act as gatekeepers of the body, controlling permeability and allowing selective transfer of materials across the physical barrier. Epithelium tissues are classified by the shape of the cells and number of cell layers formed. The shape of the cells, there are 3. The first one is squamous or squamous. They describe it as being flattened or thin. The second one is cuboidal, which is more of a boxy shape, like a perfect square. They describe it as it being just as wide and just as tall, basically just even on all sides. And then the last one is columnar, which is more of a rectangular, where it is taller than it is wider. The cell layers, there can either be one cell layer, which is called the simple epithelium, or multiple layers, which is classified as a stratified epithelium. Next, I'll be talking about our connective tissue. The major function of our connective tissue is to connect our tissues and our organs, and another major function would be protection, which is another major function of connective tissue. Specialized cells in the connective tissue defend the body from microorganisms that enter the body. All connective tissue derive from the mesodermal layer of our embryo. And connective tissue is classified according to the characteristics of their ground substance and the types of fibers found in the matrix. The types of connective tissue are proper connective tissue, which includes 2 types, which is loose and dense, and then there is supportive connective tissue and fluid connective tissue. Fluid connective tissue can be found within the blood and the lymphs, and then the other types of connective tissue you can find, like the dermis, on top of the dermis of the skin, tendons and ligaments. Again, because that is the function of the connective tissue, which is to connect tissues and organs, which our ligaments and tendons do. The next type is muscle tissue, and it is characterized by properties that allow movement. Muscle tissue responds to a stimulus. Basically, our muscle tissue is in charge, like, of facial expressions, just involuntary movement, and that type of thing, in any type of muscular movement. Muscle tissue is classified into 3 types according to structure and function. The 3 types are skeletal, cardiac, and smooth. Skeletal is attached to our bones, which is where the skeletal tissue is. Skeletal tissue is located within the bones, and its contraction makes possible for locomotion. So again, our facial expressions is where that would be implied to. It also produces heat and protects our bones. Cardiac forms the contractile walls of the heart and contracts to pump blood through our heart. Smooth is the tissue contraction is responsible for involuntary movements in the internal organs. So the smooth would be the tissue that is located in our digestive, urinary, and reproductive systems. And our last one is nervous tissue. It is characterized as being excitable and capable of sending and receiving electrochemical signals that provide the body with information. 2 main classes of cells make up the nervous tissue. The first one is neurons, which are nerve cells that transmit information from one portion of the body to another portion of the body, and they stimulate the muscle cells to move. The location would be like within the brain and the spinal cord. The neuroglia, or they also say glia cells, those surround the neuron and provide biochemical support for the neurons. So that the glia cells are just more of a support system for the neurons, and that's what makes up the nervous tissue. Again, that was week 2 for histology, and thank you for listening.